We all know the story of the diva celebrity. An artist reaches the absolute peak of fame, their ego inflates, they alienate their supporters, and eventually the lights go out on their career. But to find one of history's most spectacular examples of a celebrity's self-destructing, we have to look past modern Hollywood and travel back to 19th century India, to the southern state of Kerala. Here we meet a man named Sankaranarayana Chakyar. He was a master at a highly traditional temple art form that blended ancient storytelling, sharp stand-up comedy, and theatrical acting. In his era, he was the equivalent of an A-list pop star. There were no ticket sales or streaming numbers back then. A traditional performer's livelihood and their entire reputation relied strictly on keeping the most elite, wealthy audiences happy. One day, our star landed a gig in front of the ultimate critic, the regional Maharaja. The performance was supposed to last 12 days, but the king didn't even show up for the second night. When asked why, the Maharaja bluntly stated that while the artist's grammar and technical skills were flawless, his actual speaking voice was harsh and unpleasant to listen to. When the 12 days were up, the artist was handed his standard base pay, but he was completely denied the prestigious royal gifts, honors, and bonuses that usually came with a successful court appearance. Technical mastery provides the foundation, but it carries no weight if the audience finds the experience difficult to hear. Most people would have quit and gone home. Our artist did the exact opposite. He took that brutal feedback and leaned entirely into self-improvement. He left the royal city and traveled to Kanyakumari, the southernmost tip of India. For an entire year, he isolated himself there, enduring grueling daily vocal exercises to smooth out his delivery. When the year was up, he marched right back to the royal court. The king, remembering how bad his voice was the first time, was highly hesitant. It took serious convincing from the royal promoter just to get the king back into his seat for a second chance. He had taken the most painful review of his life and used it as a blueprint for a total reconstruction of his craft. The king sat down, the performance began, and he was completely mesmerized. The monarch openly declared that the artist's voice was now pure magic. The king immediately ordered heavy golden bracelets of honor to be placed on the artist's wrists and formally extended his court contract from 12 days to 40 days. Word spread across the country. People everywhere began calling him the undisputed greatest performer to ever live, and he began to believe them. He adopted total diva behavior. He decided he was simply too important to perform for regular people, refusing to take the stage for anyone unless they were absolute top-tier royalty. The success that grew out of his year of silence had made him completely unapproachable. One afternoon, a group of highly respected scholars arrived in his town. They were massive fans, and they had traveled a huge distance with the specific hope of finally hearing the great master perform. Because they had to leave town the very next day, they showed up at his home, politely begging him to put on a show just for them that evening. He didn't even try to be polite. He waved them away, making up a fake excuse about a sore throat just to get them out of his sight. The scholars offered to pay him whatever amount of money he wanted. He bluntly and rudely told them no. The man who once practiced in total isolation to perfect his craft now refused to share it with the very people who cherished it most. These scholars were deeply hurt by this disrespect. Before they turned to leave, an elderly member of the group looked at the artist and issued a chilling warning. He asked, "You say you can't perform for us today. What if, by the time we return, you have permanently lost the ability to speak?" The artist sneered, opening his mouth to fire back a snarky insult. But as he tried to speak, his tongue instantly paralyzed. All that came out was a single helpless syllable. Eh. He never recovered. The man who had spent a year in total isolation to build the greatest voice in the world lived out the rest of his days in complete regretful silence. A career can be built through thousands of hours of unseen, grueling effort, but it is maintained through a connection to the audience. Believing the artist is more important than the art itself is the fastest way to lose the gift entirely.